Deputy Prime Minister, value is not something that is written on the stone and cannot be changed forever at any cost, because by the flowing of time, value can be transformed into a better new one when the previous value is considered to be no longer valid to achieve the standard of welfare, in which we believe that the standard that should be used by a rational authority is a universal standard of welfare that can be implemented to everyone without inflicting any harm and right violation to the society, rather than personal value or certain communal value that is very subjective and mostly based on irrationality. So that is why we still strongly believe it, if it is okay for the government to impose this banning regulation in order to change the previous value of the society who believe that it is okay to harm yourself as long as you can get the definition of happiness under your subjective irrational standard. As Deputy Prime Minister of the affirmative side of the House, I have 2 points of contention that I am going to analyze. One point from the perspective of harm and benefit analysis, allowing a society harmful personal choice would only shift the perspective of the society to consider an irrational process of decision to harm yourself as an acceptable populist value. 2 points from the perspective of harm and benefit analysis, government has the obligation to advancing society change to a better course that provide a more protection of human rights rather than letting the society to feel happy by harming their basic right and expecting the society to realize about this wrong decision and to change this value someday, which only could now when. But before I move on to my first point of contention, let's see first the argument that has been developed by the leader of the opposition side of the House. I have two major points of rebuttal. One point, the leader of opposition believed that imposing banning smoking and threatening to put people in jail if they disobeyed this law is backstabbing with the principle of democracy that respective the difference of value among the society to decide which right between basic right and personal choice right that is more important to be priorities to achieve the standard of welfare. In the first place, the definition of right and welfare should be universal and not relative to certain individual or community. It means it would be the obligation of the government to ensure that everyone can enjoy the right equally, because equality is one of the most important qualifications and requirements of a good democratic country. In that a democratic country is established on the diversity of value among the society, and it is a good preliminary step to start a democratic country. But later on, when the democratic system has already been developing, then in ensuring the stability and sustainability of a democratic country in performing the providing of the right of welfare to all levels society. We still strongly believe that equality is the most important ingredient to maintain the positive development of a democratic country in long run. To the leader of opposition believe that the value of personal choice should be effectively justifiable when it involves the process of informed choice voluntarily decision and exit mechanism. The leader of opposition stated that if this individual had already weighed the harm and benefit of the personal choice that they may attend from the information that is given by the government, then even if this individual voluntarily decide to choose to still do this personal choice activity regardless the harm consequence that might affect them, the government still have to respect this individual decision under the reason that this individual had made a rational calculation and still want to cause to perform this personal choice under the reason of practicing the value that we believe in order to attain his definition of welfare and happiness. Now let's move on to my one point of contention. One point from the perspective of harm and benefit analysis, allowing a society harmful personal choice would only shift the perspective of the society to consider an irrational process of decision to harm yourself as an acceptable populist value. One layer. Rationality vs irrationality. We believe that the process of rationality is determined from the sufferability of this individual to leave aside his personal feeling and put his logic above anything in weighing the harm and risk. To layer the government role as a rational authority. Does this mean that the government has no respect to the diversity of value among the society? The government is an important actor whose action shall determine the development of a nation to be led in a positive or negative way. Thus, in performing its duty, the government should make a decision that is constructed on a rational calculation to ensure that only a rational, reliable, measurable, reasonable, or at least less harmful value of the society that should be passed on by the government as an official regulation of law in all provinces of the country for the providing of a better welfare for all levels of society. Now let's move on to my second point of contention. 2 point. Government has the obligation to advance in society change to a better course that provides a more protection of human rights rather than letting the society to feel happy by harming their basic right and expecting the society to realize about it and to change the value someday which only good knows. One layer, top to down vs down to top policy. There are two big categories on which the society in a country would transform their communal value or even the government system. To layer, how top to down police is more legitimate and justifiable. Our model of proposal adapt the second form of society transformation, which is from the top government to the bottom society. Conclusion: thus, if the result of the rational calculation indicated that a certain value needs to be considered to be replaced under the reason of the massive harm that it may inflict to the practitioners, then the government as the authority has the right and even obligation to limit or even eliminate the existence of this harmful and irrational culture and personal practice. Thank you.